think I listed it for 200,000, so it's already a bigger amount.
Where your entrepreneurial journey began.
If you want the real start, I had like a Minecraft server. One exception, domain names.
The following is a conversation with Nico Jeannen. He's a solo entrepreneur that dropped out of college, learned marketing, managed $1 million in Facebook ads, learned coding, and sold an application that he built in 48 hours for $65,000. Ladies and gentlemen, Nico. Welcome, Nico.
Hi there.
Do you mind sharing a few words about yourself so we get to know you a little bit better?
Yeah, sure. Always, I never know what to say in this situation. I just say, hi, I am Nico and I make apps online.
Short, sweet, and to the point. I love that. Well, I believe that you have a lot more to say than that because I've been reading all of your blog posts and all of the projects that you've been working on and all of the things that you've shared online. So I'm going to try to walk the audience through that and myself as well. So do you mind sharing where your entrepreneurial journey began and how did you start? Since I remember in your blog post, you shared that you began with marketing, then you pivoted to learning to code, and then you can share a bit more about that if you'd like.
Mm-hmm. So if you want the real start, like the stuff from a long time ago, actually I think in middle school, I was doing I had a Minecraft server. So it's like, I think most people know Minecraft, but it's a video game, and people would connect to my server and play and stuff like that. And I managed it like a mini company sort of back then. So I was, investing in making the server better and stuff like that. And people could pay for in-game features like cosmetics and stuff like that. So I would say that was my first real entrepreneurial stuff, I would say. And I think it really shaped me in lots of ways. I love making, my own stuff. Not being the boss, but not I can do what I want. I create stuff, etc. So I think that played a big part for sure. And I would say that was my first experience, properly speaking. I really started seriously. So right after high school, I tried college, but it just not for me. So I dropped out after I don't know, 1 or 2 months, super quickly. And so I started as I'm going to do what I know how to what I know. Sorry, brain fart.
No worries.
I was I'm going to start with something I know, so making WordPress website that I knew how to do because of the Minecraft server. So I was I'm just going to make that for companies, for barbers and stuff like that. But didn't got any customers and stuff like that. So I kept trying new things. I tried e-commerce at some point, and that's where I think I really started to really get into it. So I met a guy who was doing apparel, made in France, jeans, and it's just I talked with the guy. He was nice, and he gave me a few tips. I was I'm just going to try to launch my own brand of stuff. So it was a ties, with a suit, you wear ties. So it was I'm going to make a brand of ties. Don't ask me why. I like ties, and I was that's cool. Okay, I'm just going to go with that. And I think that's it's definitely not ideal. To start, this is a terrible idea, but it is better than waiting for the perfect opportunity. So I think this is something important. I'll always try to, I'm just going to do something, whatever, it doesn't matter. If I can try something, it's better than doing nothing. So I tried that. Obviously didn't work out, but I still learned a few stuff about e-commerce and marketing. And thanks to that, I launched other brands of e-commerce with drop shipping, so you don't have to have inventory and stuff like that. Tried a bunch of stuff, didn't really work either, but I keep learning, and that's something the skills, they really compound. Even if you fail, eventually you just keep learning over and over again. And at some point I knew enough so that I could get clients as a freelance. So I think my first gig was just an audit, and just checking what they were doing for marketing for a travel agency. It was actually my cousins. And yeah, I was like, oh, you can improve that, you can improve that, and I got paid for that. I was like, wow, nice. That's my first like real, like paycheck sort of. It wasn't much, like probably $500, but I was like super happy as a start. And yeah, so I keep doing a bit of that, and then I started working for other clients for like doing basically freelancing, advertising, like a bunch of marketing stuff. Even got hired by a French startup as a freelancer to like teach digital marketing online and stuff like that. And yeah, so that kept going until like for 2-3 years, something like that. No more, no more than that, probably 5. I don't know, like until May of 2022. Yeah, 2. And that's where I like stopped everything. Like my client was like, okay, we're going to stop. I'm taking someone like cheaper because I was not the cheapest, but lots of reasons. But yeah, I was like, okay, now I need to find something else because I didn't have like a proper process to find um, customers. So and it was like, after COVID, lots of companies were like reducing marketing spend, so not a good time to be freelance as a like marketing. So yeah, I was like, okay, I don't like e-commerce because the supplier can mess up with you. Like if they don't send the order, whatever, you're in trouble. If the inventory you have get lost, same. So I'm just going to make apps. If I learn to code, like nothing can go wrong. Uh, obviously, lots of things can go wrong, but it's on me. It's like that can go wrong, but I'm fully responsible for what happens. No one else can, do something that mess up my business, or at least most of the time. But yeah, so that's how I came to making apps, programming, and stuff like that.
Yeah, that sounds great. That sounds great. Actually, when you said that if you learned to code, like nothing can go wrong, or at least if something goes wrong, it's on you. I would say that is 100% true because I started in a tech background. Like I did software engineering for 7 or 8 years. This is currently my 8th year. I'm continuing on this journey, and basically starting the business side of building products is the thing that actually taught me that like building the product is only one out of the maybe 10 steps to making money from the product. So
Yeah. 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 I think lots of people underestimate that. It's like, oh, I'm just going to build an app and then people will buy it. That's going to be amazing. But it doesn't work like that, unfortunately.
yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't really. And that naturally leads me to ask you this question because
Mhm.
from what I've seen, or at least from my experience looking at the technical side, a lot of technical people go into this and they build their app, they spend so much time on this and then they fail miserably. And here you come from your advertising experience. Do you feel like this has given you a like your advertising prior experience has given you like a competitive edge in regards to other people starting off?
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. I would say the fact that I did like e-commerce and especially like drop shipping really helped because when you're doing drop shipping, is just you are launching products like every day. It's like one day, one new product, one new store. You have to basically start over and over again until you find something that works. So I kind of apply that to indie making. It's like, okay, I'm just going to make apps until some like one works. And I'm not saying this is the only way to learn, but this is a great way to learn because even if you don't get I would say, the depth that you can learn if you focus on one product, where, okay, you can learn maybe one industry really well, you can learn like advanced code stuff, scaling, whatever. But you won't necessarily have the like range. I would say, yeah. So you have like two dimensions. You have the range of different stuff, and the depth. So the more you work on like one app, one industry, the more depth you learn about this specific thing. But the more different thing you do, the more range you have. And I think having like a big range of stuff, is a really big advantage because then you like you can be creative when you solve problem. It's like, oh yeah, I've had this issue with this project, or I have this, challenge, whatever, with this project, and I can apply that. Or I coded that already. I can just copy and paste it. So I think this is a great way for people who are really new to start. Is just try a bunch of stuff, and you will learn, like, oh, maybe for this project you learn a bit of SEO, maybe for this one you learn a bit of like cold emailing, and then you get lots of starting points. Obviously that won't be enough, but you get lots of starting points, and eventually if you have like a project that has potential, and then you're okay, I'm just going to try that, like cold emailing, for example. Okay, doesn't work, now I'm going to try SEO, etc. And because you have those little bits of knowledge, then you can try, see how it goes, and then okay, that seems to be working, so I'm going to invest more time to increase the depth of my skill in this area. So I think this is where it gave me like a massive advantage, is I was used to that already, and I just kind of replicated this with making apps, basically.
Yeah, that sounds amazing, and that is really the thing that really like stood out to me when I was reading stuff about you, is because as I shared, I come from a technical background, and I am, for example, scared of going into AI and developing my own AI products. And then I see you, like a person who's only had experience with WordPress, and he's like, yeah, I'm going to start learning AI and training models and stuff like this. And like, this is really inspiring to people like me that are basically scared to start, because like you've shown that anybody can do it. And not only, like, I don't mean that in a offensive way, but what I wanted to say is that, like, what you shared, the breadth of things, is that the more you want to widen your horizon, and the more general that you want to become, the generalist, the more you earn. Like, that is one of the things that I've seen. Danko, I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he shares that the future belongs to the generalists. So that is something that I find interesting in your journey as well.
Yeah, for sure. I'm like 100% a big generalist. Like, it's like I'm definitely not the best marketer. I'm definitely not the best like copywriter, but I know more than enough to make that, like, to use it basically. And I think it's like, Pareto law, 80-20%. So you might have like the copywriter who is like the best copywriter in the world, but he gets maybe this extra, like he gets like the extra uh, percent that makes him way better. But most of the results you can still get them by being like good, or even like decent. So yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing about like being a solo founder, is like in a normal company where you're like venture backed, you can hire a SEO person, a engineer, a marketer, a salesperson, and they can basically work to get the job done. But if you're a solo entrepreneur, you basically have to pull yourself up by your bootstraps and get the stuff done. And like what you said just reminded me of one of the posts from MarcLou, where he said that he's a 10% of an engineer, a marketer, a salesperson, stuff like this, and he earns 200% of their own salary. So that is something that is inspiring for me, at least. So I like that.
Yeah, I think it's more valuable to know how and when use skills than actually knowing the skills, because if you know like when and how to use the skills, then it's like, okay, I think this project has SEO potentials, so I have two options. I can learn SEO myself, or I can hire. But you cannot do any of those if you don't have the little, the little bit of knowledge first. So if you know lots of stuff, then like, okay, I can hire for ads, I can hire for SEO, etc. And then you can hire people like that are way smarter than you to do the job perfectly well. So I think, like, as a solo founder, it's like the number one thing to focus on is learning a bit of everything, so you can, okay, I got a broad view of the ecosystem, and I can get more creative with how I approach my marketing.
Exactly. And that is one of the things that I noticed about you is that you seem like a very hyper-focused individual. Like reading one of your blog posts, you say that you bought 4 courses, one on JavaScript, one on Python, one on AI, and stuff like this. And you said that for advanced web development, you only did this and that, but you are skipping the encryption and stuff like this because you're not going to need it. You seem like a person that is very utilitarian and result oriented. Is that something that you have always had in yourself, or is that something that you developed on on your journey?
I think that's something I developed. I don't have like examples or memories of not doing that, but like I'm like completionist, like perfectionist. I like when, like, okay, if I do a course, I like when every video is seen, it's like, oh, it's finished, it's done. But over time, I think I learned like it's like there is a clock ticking basically. So I have to choose how I invest my time. So do I choose to watch those 5 videos that are not that useful, but maybe will complete the course, or I skip them because I probably won't need them. And if I need them, I can always go back to them. Um, yeah, because I have limited amount of time. And like for me, this is the most important thing is how I use my time. So it's like, it's always about how I prioritize and do the minimum amount of like effort to get the maximum amount of result right now, because I can always learn the rest later. Like I won't learn what I don't need. I just try to keep things to a strict minimum. So when for example, recently I learned how to do video editing, and there are like a bunch of things, about like videography, how to do like, I don't know, a bunch of stuff of like for more like professional video editors and stuff. I completely skip that because I'm not interested in that. That's not my goal. So it probably would have been fun to watch. Could have learned a thing or two, but I'm pretty sure I will not use that. So I just, okay, I skip. I need to stay focused on what do I need to learn right now to move forward.
And it seems to be doing you wonders. It has most certainly inspired me. Your video on the 48-hour product made me really rethink and changed a paradigm in my own head that it needs to be perfect. Like, because as a software engineer, I was working under specific pretenses that your work has to be perfect. It needs to be done on time. And the time can be expanded into the future. But when it comes to like your specific journey, what I saw, you were working on Open for Ads, and then you got the idea for MakeLogo, and you wanted to validate the idea really quick or just to throw it out if it didn't work. So the 48-hour, hence the 48-hour shipping. So that was like something that I really liked, and it really changed my overview on how products are done. So I wanted to thank you about that as well.
Yeah, I mean, glad the video was useful. It's yeah, I think it's like, it's just you're gambling your time. Whatever you do when you launch a new project, you're gambling your time. So it's more about like how much are you willing to gamble. And for me, I just don't want to. I'm like very risk averse for that, so I would rather not gamble anything like more than a week.
Mhm. Yeah, and again, it seems to be working wonders for you. So I think that's that's something that we can learn from you for sure. Yeah, and we talked about where you started, but do you mind sharing where are you now? What are you doing currently?
So right now, like I'm in Bangkok in Thailand. I've been there for 5 months soon. Um, yeah, it's just to focus actually. I moved out of Bali because of lots of reasons, but it's great for focus. I have my gym like upstairs, so I can just take the elevator, go to the gym, go back to work. So it's amazing for focus, and this is what I need now. Like my goal when coming here was, okay, I have my main app, Talk Notes. I think I had like 2,000 or something, 3,000 of monthly recurring revenue. Uh, like how do I double that in 6 months and then sell it or something? So that was my goal, and that's like actually kind of reached. So now I'm trying to sell it. But yeah, that's where I am right now.
Yeah, fingers crossed. I hope you get to sell it. But that is really interesting. Have you mentioned before a conversation that you were having some calls with acquisition.com to get it bought? Have you had
Mhm.
any luck with this, or is this something that you want to keep quiet for later?
Yeah, no problem. So it was like the introduction call, sort of. So now they're a bit more like uh, guiding you when you sell stuff, or maybe it's just because like I think I listed it for 200,000, so it's already a bigger amount. But yeah, like it was a call where they just told me, oh, okay, you should. This is how you can improve your listing, what to expect, etc., etc. So it's just like to help me improve the listing to make sure I have more chances to sell it. So it's just introduction call.
Hmm. Yeah, that is nice. I had a conversation with a person in the Shopify e-commerce space that sold one of his applications on acquire.com, and
Mhm.
he was very happy with the service. But I think before they had like a 1%, a 0% brokerage fee, and now they have something up to a 4%
Yeah,
brokerage fee. Is that
yeah.
is that okay with you, or have you searched for alternatives in this?
I think this is like no matter what, this is still the cheapest alternative. I think Flippa is like 10%, but when I sold, it was 0%. When I first sold Make Logo, there was like some fees with like escrow, the service to to seekers payment and stuff. I don't know if they handle that and like if they take the fee on their own or something, but it's like it still feels like damn, that's a lot. I'm losing like if I sell at this price probably 8,000 or something like that, so that's a lot. But although they have like great support, they give me lots of tips, so I don't know, it's just uh, that's just the cheapest, and I would rather focus on selling it than trying to save $8,000 for a $200 acquisition. I think it's just yeah. Obviously, I would prefer not to pay 8,000, but okay, that's how it is. So I would just it's fine.
If you're gonna make 200K, 8,000 is pretty fine. It's good.
Yeah,
It's great.
yeah,
I'd pay more. So another question that I wanted to ask you is, well, reading your blog posts, your basically your hits, the hits of your project, they seem to be very evolutionary. Like
yeah.
when you basically started learning development, you did some basic Python web scraping, and then you made scrap.so, which I
Mhm.
think you had some great success on. You had worked on Open for Ads, which you then uh, basically converted a single idea from that into Make Logo, and you had some success, a lot of success with that. Do you mind sharing what is your current process for basically, since I know that you have a lot of ideas, do you mind sharing what is your current process for weeding out the ideas and spending time on the specific idea that you want to spend time on and that you think is going to basically have the best return of investment?
Mhm. Yeah. So actually, that's a very interesting question. When I started, I was in the mindset of okay, I'm just going to do everything. Like I have an idea, I just do it because I had lots of time. So my time was, I would say, less valuable than now, and I could afford to like I was still learning. So no matter what I did, it was still an improvement. Um, I had like some pretty really basic ideas. Like my first real app was like a AI copywriting tool or something. I mean, that's a really bad idea. Like it's just back then, okay, ChatGPT wasn't here yet, but still it was like so crowded. But yeah, I think at first it was like just trying random anything that go through my mind. But now that like I I have like a better like success rate with my project, I started to make apps that where I already knew there was some validations. So, for example, I launched a sales pop-up recently, which display the recent transactions. But I only launched it because I saw people talking about it on Twitter. So I noticed people were giving it attention. They were like, "Oh, hey, what is this app?" Like, they were tagging me, "What is this app? I just saw that on Talk Notes. How do you do that, etc." Is there like a free library of code, whatever, whatever? So I was like, "Oh, people! If people ask for it, like it means that more people wonder. They just don't, ask for it." So I was like, "Okay, that's a good sign of like." it's obviously it's not validation, but it's like you can smell the cake already. And I actually launched because I saw some people working, like, who started doing stuff like that, like, uh, and I wanted to be the first one to launch that. So I was like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to focus for 1 week, do that nonstop. I launch it, and then at least it's done. And it's like, it didn't make, like, thousands and thousands of dollars. I think since I launched it, probably 1 or 2 thousand. It's like, it's not much, but I think for someone who started, pretty good. But yeah, I knew it was going to sell in advance because I know some people ask for it, so I know I would get at least a few sales. So this is what I used for this app. Same for maker ads. So I made a guide about Facebook ads for SaaS. And it's the same. I started to notice people on Twitter talking about ads. I saw people, there is Yossi, I don't know if you know him, but yeah, he was like, oh, I bought a course from Udemy. And I was like, damn. So they actually, like, that's something that interests founders, because then the comments were like, oh, tell me how it goes and stuff like that. And I saw more and more people say, oh, any tips to run Facebook ads? So I was like, okay, like, if they ask for it, there's probably some demand. But obviously making like a whole course take a lot of time. So for this one, I just did pre-orders. It's like just a landing page. You can pay in advance, and I make the course after. Because again, I did not want to spend time if the idea was not validated. So sales pop up, it's like, take me 1 week. Okay, no problem. I will just do it. But for this one, it would take me at least 2, 3, like, or months to record the course and stuff. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do pre-sales first. So that's how I go with ideas now. I try to focus on stuff where, I can smell the cake already. I get some kind of, like, proof of interest, either from, people talking about it on Twitter and stuff like that, or maybe that's something I need, and I know for sure that I'm not the only one who would need that. So yeah, that's kind of how I try to go with projects now. But obviously, it's fun to just launch something from zero. I have no idea if it's going to work, but yeah, you have to pick if you want to do something funny or if you want to do something that works. For now, I choose to do stuff that works. So I try to focus on that. Doesn't mean I will always do that, but right now that worked pretty decently for me.
Awesome. That sounds very interesting. Okay. And you mentioned stuff about social media, and I don't know if you consider yourself an indie hacker or somebody who builds in public.
Yeah, for sure. Indie hacker, both. Less built in public now, but indie hacker for sure.
And that leads very nicely into the question that I wanted to ask you about copycats. Is that one of the things that you shared is that the social media is pretty much a double-edged sword. You get to validate your ideas, but this idea gets validated in front of a lot of other people as well. So what is your approach to how much do you keep for yourself and how much do you give to the public, and how do you balance this? Because from what I've seen, for example, on MarcLou's side as well, like before he did a lot of live streams where he built projects live, but now he's basically reached a level where if he says something, it's going to become an app like 2 hours later. So how do you personally balance this?
Yeah, perfect transition. So when I started, I didn't really care, but I think the indie making ecosystem really changed since then. I feel there's a big gold rush feeling. So lots of people who are not naturally interested by that, come to that and they, oh, okay, I'm just going to make money. I'm just going to copy this guy. That happens. Unfortunately, that's what happens when, a market is growing. And I think the indie market is not indie maker market is not like a market properly speaking, but making SaaS apps with AI and stuff like that is, I would say, like a very general market, and it's growing very fast. So obviously it attracts lots of people who are more interested in making quick bucks. And I mean, I'm also interested in making a quick bucks, obviously, but yeah, it's like people who just go on Twitter, find what works and copy. And that's a strategy. It works. That has been proven to work. When I was doing dropshipping, everyone was doing that, to the point where you had like tools to spy on competitors, to monitor what they were doing, etc. Like, it's just, so for me it kind of start to feel the same as dropshipping back then. Everyone tried to copy and stuff. So yeah, now it actually really frustrates me. I know that I can like probably outmarket most people who don't have marketing skills. They just launch a copycat of my app, and what? It's just they just launch, and okay, so I don't really care. But it just pisses me off when I see someone making the same thing, and usually I block or mute anyone I see who make a similar app, because I just don't want to hear about it. So I did that for a Make logo. Then like when I sold it, I unblocked everyone, because it's like, it's not personal unless the guy is specifically targeting me and stuff. But it's just I don't want to see anything about it. But also now I think I try to focus more on products where I have an edge. So Maker Ads Guide, I know that no one can do it because I have 7 years of experience. I myself did SaaS, so a guy who has experience in ads but not in SaaS cannot compete with me, because I have like first-hand experience with softwares and SaaS. So I know like what works compared to like e-commerce, for example. And someone who is doing just software and don't have experience with that cannot compete with me because they don't have the knowledge. So I have like a really good mode for that. And I think like if I sell Talk Notes, my current app, I will probably do some kind of productized service agency, because lots of people ask me, and like very few people can compete with that again. So yeah, I think I will try to focus more on products where I have like an edge in the future. But yeah, that's like, no matter what, that's just part of it. You cannot you cannot avoid it. I stopped sharing as much on Twitter. Like there is an app I launched not like, I think 2 months ago or something. I didn't share anything about it on Twitter. I never mentioned it or whatever, because I know that the moment I post like, oh, I launched this app, and they feel like they could compete, man, there will be like 50 people doing the exact same thing. So nope. It's like, I have some apps I'm not sharing, even if they don't do much sales. I don't want to see like 50,000 people doing the exact same thing. So for now, I don't know. It just feels better.
That seems like an interesting approach. Yeah, I'm thinking about a lot about this currently myself. Like, I don't know how many followers you have on X. I think something like tens of thousands, if I'm not mistaken. Or
like very close to 30,000.
yes, I had 69 last night, which is nice. But that is something that I am personally slightly squeamish about. Like, even though the indie hacking community is a perfect place where you can validate your ideas, for some reason I am I'm very reluctant to share what I have, at least until it's at a point where I'm gonna be the first to market, and I'm gonna be the first to do it in a certain way. So yeah, I'm trying to currently find the balance for myself, which is I don't think I have found a good balance for this yet, but we'll see.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. So I think like when you're just starting out, it's in your best interest to just publish stuff, because copycats usually focus on successful products. And when they see a guy with like 100 followers or something, it's like, oh yeah, he's probably making like $100 per month or something, whatever. So like naturally, I think copycats focus on projects who have lots of tractions. And when you're just starting out, you don't really have that issue. So I would say it's fine to share stuff, and especially when you grow your monthly recurring revenue, like it just works. If you share monthly recurring revenue, you will get followers, because people are like, oh, I want to know what this guy does, And even me, when I see someone who, oh, I made 100 MRR, I'm like, oh, interesting. I will follow this guy, because maybe I can learn some stuff I don't know, with distribution, whatever. So I think when you're just starting out, I mean, and it depends on your goals, obviously. If you really don't care about Twitter, then you have no interest in sharing that. But I think Twitter is good to meet new people and have like all opportunities. So yeah, I think it's, if that's something you're in this direction, then yeah, it's 100% worth it. And there are some downsides, like you might get a copycat once in a while, but eventually I think the pros definitely outweighs the negative side. I 100% don't regret sharing everything I shared. Like now, it's like I'm at a point where I can like sort of like afford to share a bit less because I have other ways of providing value to people with my experience, with marketing tips and other stuff. But for someone who's just starting out, people don't know you. They don't know if you're good at marketing or something, so they won't like blindly follow you. So it's in your best interest, I think, to share first-hand experience, saying, "Oh, I tried this work," etc.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is still something that I'm considering. I even have a project that I'm currently working on, and I'm not entirely sure if I want to share at all until I get it. At least until I buy a domain. So if somebody doesn't nick it off me.
Okay, one exception: domain names. So I think no matter the stage you are at, like, okay, maybe not if you have like 50 followers, but if you have like 1,000, 200,000 followers, and you start sharing, hey, I'm going to get this domain or whatever, don't ever don't. It's horrible. People are horrible.
Domain
when
scalpers, man.
Look, when I launched Talk Notes, some guy bought the .ai, the .app, like purely just in case, just in case I needed them and I would have to pay more for them. So what I did, I ended up buying the .com that was, for 2,000 that someone else was selling from like way before. But yeah, that really sucks. So if you share anything about domains, make sure to have everything you need beforehand, because it's likely that some people will just try to buy the domains to sell them for like more money to you later.
Yeah. Okay, that is noted. I'm not planning on sharing domain names until I buy them. So yeah, for sure. But yes, the sharing of the journey, I've started like ever since I paid for Twitter Premium, so I can DM people. Otherwise, I wasn't able to. Like, for example, I don't know if you're familiar with Dimitro Krasun, the Screenshots One guy. I had to open his Screenshot One and open a support ticket to him so I can ask them to.
I mean, that's a good strategy.
Twitter did not allow me to basically to DM him, so I had to come up with something else. So yeah, and ever since I bought Twitter Premium, I got like 20 followers in a couple of days, after it took me like 3 months to get to 50. So that's maybe something interesting to think about.
Yeah, that definitely helps for sure. It's like even me, so I started Twitter a bit before the whole premium thing happens, and it's really stupid, but just a little check mark make you way more legit in the eyes of people. And people say, "Oh, he bought Twitter." He's like, at the beginning, especially, but they were like, "Oh, he bought Twitter. He's a dick," and stuff like that. But man, the moment I could buy Twitter Premium, I bought it directly, and my followers count like increased a lot, because it gives you more credibility. So this is stupid, but this is like social proof. This is basic marketing. It's like a small check mark, even if it doesn't mean anything, whatever, it just works. So yeah, for me, it's worth the price.
Yeah, I think that ties into one of the books that you mentioned in your blog post about the predictably irrational, the hidden forces that shape our decisions. Maybe that's one of the things. Like, on the surface, it may seem like, hey, this person has $10 a month to give to Twitter, but maybe on a subconscious level, this, like, before Twitter was paid and the blue check mark had a different meaning. Maybe it has some subconscious meaning to that.
Yeah. Well. So for sure, yeah.
Yeah. All right. That's great. So one of the other things that I wanted to ask you is that, since you are the marketing expert, what is your approach to marketing your current products? Like, what channels do you use? What do you think about it? Like, I am a marketing novice. I have no experience whatsoever. So would you mind sharing what is your approach to marketing?
So, okay, I can share what I do now, but I'm not sure that will be much use. But instead, I could share, like, I can share what I do now, but I think it would be more interesting to share, like, how I approach a project and maybe what I would do now to, like, validate a project, like market an early stage project. I think that would be more interesting.
Whichever you mind sharing. Everything is interesting to me. So
All right. So um, when I started Talk Notes, I made the project for advertising. So I actually didn't really plan to launch it on Twitter, etc. But I don't know. I ended up posting on Twitter, made a few sales from that. So I think 100%. And that's why it's nice to have Twitter, because you already have like a network of people who might be interested. But in my case, I posted on Twitter and I made a few sales from that. So okay, good. But it was like very little. I think I made most of the sales from posting to like online directories, and that sounds, that's like super basic thing. But just posting the product in that kind of directories, then okay, maybe one person will see the product and maybe interested. So you might get like a few easy sales from that. I'm not sure now how much it would work, because I think hundreds of people post new products every day. So I'm not really sure that will still like work as well as before. But for Talk Notes and Make Logo, I know for sure that I got my first few sales from that. So I think it is worth doing. Some directories are paid, some are free, but yeah. So this is how like I kind of like approached it at the beginning. Um, for Talk Notes, I think I tried to do cold DMs, like cold messagings to email people. I'm not sure. I don't remember, but there was one project where I did cold messaging for open forums for sure. And actually, so if there is like a target audience, you can identify well. So for example, you're targeting, I don't know, podcasters, indie makers, whatever, people who are like kind of public, or where you can find emails easily. So for example, if like real estate, usually you have like directories of realtors. So what you can do is, if you have one identifiable target, I think what I would do now is cold messaging, because it's just like everyone say, oh, it's spammy, but it doesn't have to. If you write a good email, then it doesn't feel spammy. It's just, hey, I have this, are you interested? Like, well, obviously it's more complex than that. Just don't write, hey, I have this, are you interested? But that's kind of sums it up. But I think I would do that. Actually, for the project, like the one of the project I don't talk publicly, I'm going to do that when I have a bit more time, to just cold email people, hey, I have this solution to your problem, so maybe if you're interested, you can try it here. I think that's really like a great way to market, if you can find a subset of people. Now, that doesn't work for all products. So obviously SEO, I'm not really good at SEO, honestly, but I spent some time learning. I took like courses and stuff, so I kind of got the basics. SEO can work really well, I think, if like it's not like a oversaturated space, and people are like the product, the product happen in how to say, like the intent of people, like they're looking for a solution. Because some products, like for example, Talk Note, it's brand new, so people don't know it exists, so they will not search for it. So Google Ads and SEO are not good for that. But they might search like AI transcription, I don't know, stuff like that. Or if you do, I don't know, web scraping, like how to scrap, I don't know, a Facebook page, for example, then you might be able to catch people at this time of their like journey, sort of, and tell them, hey, look, you can this is how you scrap a Facebook page, or this is how you scrap a website, but look, there is a better solution, and then you can pitch your product. So you make a blog post, you make a free tool, whatever. And I think this is Dan Kolkov does really well. He has like a free marketing ideas generator, stuff like that. And so it's like just chat GPT like wrapper. But people look for that on Google, and then it's like, hey, look, I have this solution. Maybe you need that, and he make most of his sales from that, actually. So yeah, it's like, because what I was mentioning earlier, all those tiny bits of knowledge. I'm not an expert in SEO, but I know where it makes sense to use it. So like that's like I will try to think where does it, like how can I reach the audience the easiest way possible? Where do they hang out? So maybe, you know, there are like on online forums. So then I would, you know, go to the forum, try to talk with them, etc. So there is no like go-to way to market stuff. It really depends on where your audience is. Obviously, if you are selling like clothes and stuff like that, then you might want to have like a physical store because people go shopping, you know, in city centers and stuff like that. So yeah, it really depends. It really depends. But I think in general, if the product is brand new and like no one really like look for it, like Google Ads and SEO might like not be the best if you like if you promote it directly. But if you can find a way to attach it to some kind of intent, like something people already look for, then that can work. But if it's something like brand new, like a bit catchy, how to say,
Groundbreaking or not SEO friendly.
no, wait, I got the word. Impulsive. Yeah. Mm-hmm. If it's something a bit impulsive where people are like, wow, that's so cool, I want to try it. That's, I think, where advertising really works well, because advertising is about like catching people's attention. So they have like their newsfeed, they're scrolling, and then suddenly you pop off and you catch their attention, and they're like, oh wow, that's interesting, I want to learn more. So if the product has that kind of stuff, you know, like, oh, and it doesn't have to be like something amazing, it can just be like a solution to the problem. But if the product has that, then advertising on like Facebook, Reddit, etc., can work really well. So yeah, there is no like 5-step process or go-to method or stuff like that. It's just, okay, try to think which channel makes the most sense for the audience, and like which obviously depend on your budget. Like if you don't have any money, then Facebook ads might be a bit hard to do. But I think usually like every channel has like a free and a paid version. So for example, you have SEO and Google Ads. So Google Ads is great if you don't want to spend tons of time making a great article, then you can like sort of skip the line and get first. Same with Facebook or any kind of social media. Like you can produce great content and become, you know, your post become viral, or you can pay for your post to be shown anyway. So yeah, I think it's like that's how I would approach it. So like, what's my budget? What time do I have, etc., etc.
Mm-hmm. That's really interesting. Yeah, well, for the current project that I'm working on, it's mainly focused at indie hackers and indie solopreneurs. So maybe X is a good place for that, or at least the X threads or something like this. All right, I'll keep it in mind.
Yeah, I mean, like, okay, I don't know what the project is, but if, for example, if you are relevant, like if you answer people, you know, because lots of Twitter is about like replying to people, and there are lots of people who, you know, they've been following me for a while, and I keep seeing them in my comments, like they, you know, they support me. So I'm like, oh, this is a cool guy, I'm going to check his profile. And I think lots of that can happen. So if you just talk with people, interact with them, eventually they will be like, oh, who is this guy? He's, you know, always supportive, talking with me, etc. I'm going to check his profile just out of curiosity. And then they see, oh, he's doing that, that's interesting. So obviously it's not fast, it's not the most like efficient, but it can, you know, kind of like give you like a bunch of sales from here and there. So yeah, I think that's a good strategy.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, I will. You have shared a lot of nuggets of wisdom to me, and I will unwind them after the call for sure.
But like actually, so that's kind of what I did when I started. I started with like I had like, I don't know, 20 followers or something like this, like bots, old account. And I was like, oh, yeah. So I'm like,
that is very familiar with me, for me, yeah, at least.
Yeah. But the thing is, I was like, okay, I'm like, I know Twitter, like it's good because I can meet people and I can potentially use it as acquisition channel. So I just started doing that, you know, interacting with people. And I think if you look up my like very first post on Twitter, it's like marketing tips, no one cared about it because I didn't, I
You
didn't
didn't
show
have
what I
credibility
could.
behind behind.
Exactly.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think until you have like 1,000 followers, at least for me back then, it doesn't really matter what you post. It's more about interacting with people. And then the more follower you have, the more credibility you have, and then you can start posting stuff like, oh, this is my win, etc. And then you get more and more people, etc. So there is like, that's how I approach it. And I don't really use it for like acquisition. Like, I mean, well, I have like the Facebook ads guide and sales pop-up, so that's not entirely true, but it's not my main focus. I just like posting on Twitter and uh, seeing the number go up. It's a bit ego in place, but yeah, I think it's great to just interact with people, getting to know them, like basically make friends.
Yeah, that's the thing that I'm currently trying to do. Like I'm trying to use this podcast as a vehicle to learn from people and, excuse me, to learn from people and to get to know them and to make some new friends, hopefully. So so far it's working great. So I'm happy about that. I wanted to ask you one of the questions, like in your video that you shared, that one of the main reasons that you shared the Make Logo AI is because you were grew tired of it. You had some burnout, and I think that ties into the, I don't know if correct me if I'm wrong, but the hyper focused state that you have, like do drill into the hole until you reach into the earth until you go on the other side. Maybe that oftentimes leads to burnout, and that is something that you did like several years ago. And do you mind sharing currently what is your current approach to dealing with burnout and dealing with the hyper focused state and balancing between the two?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's true. Because when I'm in like a hardcore grind mode, it's like nothing else counts, and I have like levels sort of. So it's like level one is maybe like, oh, it's just chill. Okay, I'm just going to work a bit. But like hardcore level is I skip dinner and stuff because I have too much work. I need to focus. This is like the very like extreme. But the more I need to focus, the more I sacrifice in terms of like health and stuff. Um, it's it's very efficient, but it's like the candle that burns twice as bright burns twice faster. So
Yes,
the problem with that
yes,
is
yes.
eventually you start to get really exhausted mentally. I think there was some time where I did like 1 month of like really hardcore focus, and then I was with a friend and I could barely talk. I was, fuck, how do I
I know
talk?
this. I know this feeling.
Yeah. So yeah, the thing is, I don't really believe in like work-life balance. Uh, for me, at least, I know I work best with like big burst of like energy. I just hardcore focus, then okay, rest a bit, then go again. But it's like cycle, so it's like that, and at some point there is like a big okay, go down, and that's like burnout and stuff. Um, I would say I'm fine with that because now I'm used to it. So when I made Make Logo, after I sold it and stuff, I was super depressed. I was like, wow, what am I doing with my life now? And also like lots of dopamine, from the sales, lots of people on Twitter saying, oh, congrats. It's like ego boosting, so dopamine. But like for the long-term cycle, I think it's just I'm fine with the fact that okay, I cannot really avoid it. Actually, I think I'm kind of in this cycle right now. I have a really hard time working. I haven't touched alt notes for probably like a month or something, because I just had like a really hyper focused period of time. That the moment I tried to like rest a bit, I learned video editing, which I went even more hardcore. So it's like, okay, now I'm relaxing a bit. I honestly don't do much during the day, like those days. I'm just selling talk notes, trying to sell it, doing a bit of customer support and here and there, but that's it. So I think it's like double-edged sword, and you need to be aware that you can eventually burn out. I used to be like, no, burnout is not a thing. If you have discipline, it doesn't exist. But I'm starting to change my mind about that. I think it's just okay that it's like at the gym, if you push too much, like eventually you will be like, your muscles will be like exhausted. And if you keep pushing while they're exhausted, then you can hurt yourself, and then you will have to rest even longer. So I think it's the same principle. It's just mentally you get tired, and if you keep pushing, you will get more tired, and eventually you need to recover. So you can either recover like on the go, you can if other like recover in one time, but you need to recover eventually.
Mhm.
So for me, my approach is, I know I'm way more efficient when I'm in the zone, compared to I do a bit of, I watched 3 videos about video editing today, the next day 3 more, etc. I know I'm way more efficient when I do, okay, I'm going to wake up at 5:30 and I'm going to like watch a video about like video editing stuff until 10 p.m. And I'm completely exhausted at the end of the day, but I learned tons of things. So yeah, that's how it worked for me. So that's how I focus. That's how I learned to code. That's how I got my biggest wins, I would say. MarcLou, I made it in 48 hours, and then after that, I keep like crunching sort of. Talk notes, I did that. I moved to Bangkok for that, to be able to focus. It's really about hardcore optimization. So for example, the gym, I could go to any gym and drive or walk for 10 or 20 minutes, go to the gym, then come back. But then I would lose 20 to 40 minutes going back and forth. And it's really about micro optimization. So it's just everything I can optimize. I get my food delivered. Like, I don't have anything in my fridge, but my freezer is packed with food I can just unfroze. So it's just optimize hardcore. Don't waste, like, every single minute I do during those time is need to be efficient. So even when I eat, I watch course and stuff.
Mhm.
So that's how I approach it. It worked really well for me so far, but you need to be aware of the downside. And of course, that worked because I don't have a kid. I don't have, like, I have a girlfriend, but we don't live together, so it doesn't work in any situation. And I know I'm like still pretty young, so I fully take advantage of that. But yeah.
It is insane to me that you're managing to work in this specific way and actually succeed, because like I shared it in the cold DM that I sent you, is that the story that you shared for Make Logo is basically the same story that I had, but I didn't have a successful exit. So I started working on a QR code application some time ago, and at a point where I was pretty happy about the QR code application, I was like, "Yep, let's ship it. Let's deliver it." And there was a breakthrough in these in QR codes. I don't know if you know, but some guy found a way to generate QR codes with AI,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
makes them really pretty. And I was like, okay, this is a sign. I need to focus all of my efforts onto pivoting this QR code application into an AI QR code application. So
Mhm.
I was like, okay, I know, just like you said, the novelty, like the people who get on the first floor who do this first are going to be the winners. Everybody else is going to be the
Yeah.
loser. So I was like, okay, 1 month, I'm going to basically build this out from zero. I'm going to succeed. I'm going to be awesome. I'm going to make a lot of money, retire, stuff like this. And I started crunching. I crunched so hard, and I finished the project. I launched successfully, and I had like something like up to this point I've had like 22,000 visitors or something like this, and people using the application, but it just didn't take off because I think like some guys did the same thing before me, like 2 weeks
Ah,
before I finished my project they did the same thing.
yeah.
And like at the point that I shipped it, there were like four or other projects which I think took over the market. And
Yeah.
like I feel like I like you were basically living the happy reality while my reality converged on the failure one. So after I found this failure, like I've up to this day I've made like $300 on this project, which is like coming from a software engineering salary, it's nothing. But
Mm.
so that's the thing. Um, I didn't I didn't touch anything on this project like 6 months after I launched it because I was so burnt out of it. So it is crazy to me that you managed to work on the hyper focus and then chill, hyper focus and then chill, and do this long term. So
Hmm.
congratulations to you. I'm happy that it works to you. It's not really working for me, but
I think I would add, like, for Make Logo, luck played a big part, because, as you said, like it's, you got 2 weeks late, so it's a timing problem. If you were the first one, I think the chances that the app, got more attention would be much higher. It's not guaranteed, of course, because if you have a guy with like 100,000 followers who launched that, even if it's 2 weeks after you, then good luck competing with that. But I think for Talk Notes, I was really the very, very first one. And that's also why, like, making something in like 48 hours instead of 2 weeks, because after, like, I launched it, and then after I saw lots of people doing the exact same thing. So I think if I launched a month later, I would never have had the amount of attention I got. So that, like this was the, like, lucky part, sort of. It's just I had the perfect timing. So yeah, it's timing plays a massive role when you marketing rely on being the first to market, which is why I really think being the first to market is like a terrible, terrible way of doing marketing, because that can happen once every 3 years. So if it works, poof, it's like go to the moon. But it's like 99% chance it won't happen.
if it
So
doesn't,
yeah,
you're the brighter candle,
yeah,
unfortunately. And I
yeah.
was the brighter candle. So that's the thing. So I'm currently trying to build businesses that don't rely on the first to market principle, but try to fill in some. They're not like something that is new and awesome, but it's something that solves a specific problem or is interesting. So that is something
Yeah.
that I'm currently trying. So fingers crossed with that, but we'll see. We'll see soon.
I think that's the correct way to approach entrepreneurship.
Yeah, I don't know if it's correct one, but it is the one for me because like I have a wife, I have a kid. It is very difficult, and I want to build a successful business with this like within 1 year. So this is an approach that I'm taking. If I'm wrong, I'm trying to be very flexible in my decisions so that I can pivot fast. But in that regard as well, I don't think it was only luck on like I was unlucky with this. I think it was also a skill issue on my side because like this is the first time I had ever launched a commercial project. I have had like dozens of little side projects and side hustle, not side hustles, but little small apps that I've built in the years. But this was the first time that I had ever built a commercial project, and it took me like a lot of time. Like it took
Yeah.
me like 1 week to build the MVP, and all the other time was like Stripe integrations, building the website, SEO optimization, marketing,
Yeah.
product hunt, stuff like this. If I had built like 3 or 4 product apps beforehand, I would have been the first one. So that is at least exciting for me. Maybe if I ship more and I get the good idea later, then I might have the good ending where I sell the project for $65,000 or maybe more.
I mean, I hope for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
But yeah, it's I think so. That's an important thing. So for me, when I saw it, I got lucky. But for me, luck is like when you have like the preparation and the opportunity that meets. So this is luck. Obviously, I could never have done it if I didn't have like the copywriting skills and stuff like that. Because I think okay, I'm pretty happy with the headline. I think the headline was like a designer quality logo for less than a coffee. So you directly understand what the whole thing is about. So if I wrote instead like generate, I don't know, AI logos, whatever, it would have been probably way more impactful. So there are all the tiny bits, again, it's like those little of everything that I added. Like I knew how to, how to use AI. I knew how to use, like how to do copywriting, etc. And then it adds up, and at some point, okay, there is like this opportunity, so I can take it, and this is how luck is created. So yeah, it's not from me. I don't know who made the quote, but yeah.
Have you seen the Fireship video where Jeff is talking about entrepreneurship and how the Quentin Tarantino movie with Salma Hayek? Have you seen that one?
I don't think so. I love Fireship, but I haven't watched all the videos.
Yeah, he was basically talking about how Quentin Tarantino made a movie about Salma Hayek, which is a very attractive woman pouring tequila down her leg into the mouth of some actor, and Quentin Tarantino cast himself as the person. So that is, that is
Oh, wait,
making your own luck.
that sounds familiar. That sounds familiar. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Well, yeah, that's super
I can
cute.
send you the link to the video after the call, but like that is making your own luck. So I'm trying to hopefully I can make my own luck in the future, and hopefully you can continue with your own current luck.
Yeah, I mean, that's the idea.
Yeah. I also wanted to ask you, one of the things that you mentioned or have read in your blog post is that you moved to Indonesia, Bali. Now you're currently in Thailand, Bangkok.
Mhm.
Are you
Yeah.
like do you like moving, or do you how is that working to you? Because I saw you initially mentioned that you moved to Indonesia because life there was cheaper. So I think
Mhm.
I also wanted to ask you about your MarcLou deal that you've had together. So maybe that can ask I can ask that later. But first, like, are you the Peter Levels? What was it called? Ah, digital. Are you a Peter Levels digital nomad or something like this?
Um, so that kind of always was my goal since I started entrepreneurship, like, oh, travel around and stuff. But man, recently I realized this is shit. Like, you cannot focus if you travel a lot because you change time zone, you have to set up everything again, you get jet lag, you have to find a new place. It's exhausting. You cannot. So yeah, I've more and more like right now. I want to find like a place where I can stay for the next 2 years or something, because it's like simple stuff, but I cannot invest in a proper like a work setup. Like right now everything I have is like portable, but it's not like really efficient. I cannot buy like I have like I showed you earlier. I have like a light. It's okay, but it's nowhere near the like the big light you can have for like an actual studio to make high quality video. So I have it creates a lot of constraints. So I think it's good, when you're young, you meet lots of people. Again, you discover lots of stuff, but it's just not good for work. You cannot focus. I don't believe that people who travel a lot, like either you already have something running and it's more like maintenance, you do customer support, ship one or two feature here and there, or you don't make lots of money. But I think someone who is like just starting the grind, you cannot focus if you travel a lot. So yeah, I don't recommend traveling a lot if you're trying to focus.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm currently with the kid, so we can't really travel that much.
Yeah,
So
I can imagine.
yeah, and I wanted to ask you again. One of the tweets, like the first time that I ever saw you was in a tweet of MarcLou. He basically
Mhm.
mentioned your course that he gave you like $1,400 and you made this into 10K or something like that. Do you mind sharing how this type of relationship came to be? How you began managing his ads for him?
Mhm. So I met Mark on Twitter actually. I think one day, I don't know, he DM'd me, so like, hey, do you want to get lunch at my home? I was like, okay. It's like,
And this is in Bali.
and we were, yeah. And that's, I think Bali is great for that because lots of indie makers go there. So to meet new people, and, it's great to have like a small group of people you trust and you can share wins and learnings. But yeah, so we were around the same stage in our journey. I think back then I was like slightly more advanced than him in terms of like income and stuff. Um, but yeah, so we met, and yeah, I don't know. It was like I'm not a social person, so I think it was a bit awkward at first. I was really shy. But yeah, I don't know. We're both French. We have like similar humor and stuff like that. So I don't know. Eventually, it was like it was nice. And yeah, I don't know. I think at some point he was just like, "Hey, I'm I'm going like I'm making a wedding in Korea. Do you want to come?" I was like, "Okay." So yeah, I was like, "Okay, that's why not?" So he invited me to his wedding. I went to Korea. It was perfect time to take a break from work, which I much needed back then. And yeah, I think that's where we became like really good friends because we spent like 1 week together, like with his family and stuff like that. So it was really amazing. I actually really loved Korea. It was really fun. And then we started like a group chat with also Dan Kolkov. So back then he didn't have Shipfast. He was like working on a bunch of small projects. And yeah, at some point he launched Shipfast. The thing absolutely blew up. Um, I don't remember when exactly, but I was like, man, you should really try ads because you have like lots of people purchasing. So Facebook has lots of data. So I told him to try ads. He don't know anything about ads, obviously. So I set up everything for him, um, and it just worked. Like he just made lots of sales from that. Um, so yeah, I don't know. It just I was just helping, and that's I think that's one thing that's really important. Is like if you provide value to people, they will eventually give back, or maybe they won't, but someone else will. Like it's just I don't really like believe in karma and stuff like that, but I just like yeah, sometimes I help people. Like actually, lots of people on Twitter like I saw their landing page or something, and I think you can probably find some people I've sent like a 15 to like 30 minutes video, giving them feedback and stuff to improve. I don't know. I just like that's something I would have appreciated back then when I was starting. So I don't know, and I think it's just fun. I can help people, so it's fun. But yeah, it was just helping, and he I don't think he warned me. He just posted, and then I saw the sale like completely blew up. It's like insane. I think I probably made like 5,000 or something, like 3,000 in like 48 hours.
Awesome.
But yeah, I mean that's just how it came to this. So I'm also helping like other makers. I don't want them to like to post or anything. I'm just excited because I also learn. When I run ads for them, I see like a bit of different industries. So I'm really interested in that. But yeah, I mean that's how it happened basically.
Yeah, and that is a very inspiring story, actually. Actually, I would like to have I would like to help people with the stuff that I'm good at in the same way that you help them with the stuff that you're good at. So if anybody is watching and they need any help with their software engineering side of their product, please let me know. I would love to give you guys a hand. So
Yeah, I think that's a great way to approach things. Like is even if you don't get anything directly from it, you probably are going to learn something, or it's like exchanging with people, you make new friends. So yeah, I think it's a great thing to do.
yeah, hopefully something interesting comes out of this. Right. So one of the things that I wanted to ask you is I could not go without asking is your current explosion in the YouTube space. Like
Yeah.
you had a YouTube channel with one single video, and this one single video broke 100,000 views in like a week.
Yeah.
And yeah, one channel, one video, 100,000 views, and 20K or something like that subscribers, or is it more now?
No, subscribers are like 3,000 or something because I don't have any call to action like hey subscribe or stuff like that.
Mhm.
I think I should have, but it's fine. I wanted
Yeah,
to
you could
test
do it.
it.
You're gonna do 200,000 in the next one, so no worries. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so.
Yeah, well, what I wanted to ask you is, so you shared that you were learning video editing. Is this video entirely produced by yourself because it's so like it's well written, it's well edited, the thumbnail is great, it has like it's has a nice hook. Like I watched it several times. So do you mind sharing what was your process in making this video? Why did you come to the YouTube space at all? What is your process, and what are you hoping to achieve with this?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. So let me think. So I I cannot always like making like I wanted to make YouTube video for a while. I actually did like 10 years ago. I was doing like gaming videos. I still have the videos on my channel. It's like super weird to see myself. But there was like no editing. It's just me recording myself like the shittiest microphone you can think of. It's like really bad, really boring. But um, that's something I kind of always enjoyed. And yeah, I actually made video about entrepreneurship when I started. So same, super boring, no editing. I didn't know anything about like video making and stuff like that. But I don't know. I always love to share stuff, and I think my blog is kind of an extension of that. Is that I've always liked to share what I do publicly, and even like if you do a bit of digging, you can find me in some forums like from my e-commerce days. But yeah, so I've always liked to share things, and obviously I didn't have time to make YouTube like those past few years because I was just busy, working. But that's always something I kept in mind. I was like, okay, I want to do one day video about entrepreneurship and stuff like that. And so I wanted to, I think, yeah, I made the course about Facebook ads, and I bought like a new iPhone, the one I'm using now. And I was like, okay, you know what? I'm making the course with it. So in any case, it's going to be worth it. But I might as well probably do YouTube videos this year. Just, like that, no plan or anything. And then I think Mark started YouTube and he got like really good success with it. And I started to have more time. And so we went back to Korea, I think a month and a half ago. And, I talked with him and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, okay, I might as well, give it a shot. But I had like a really good story, obviously. So I started writing, a bit of script, like, okay, I need to find back in my old post and some stuff that I had like do a bit more digging. So what's the actual story from zero, like start to end? So I made a script, basically that. And once I had like the basic of the script, I recorded myself talking, like doing the thing, and I plan to, not necessarily add like lots of video editing. And I was like, man, this is so fucking boring. I'm not releasing that. So I was like, okay, you know what? I need to learn how to make proper videos. And I watched a bunch of videos from like, for example, James Janney. I don't know if it's like making really good documentaries. So like, man, I can probably make something like that, So I was like, okay, I'm just going to spend like 1 week doing that nonstop and see how it goes. So I bought courses about video editing, motion design, because all the nice little effects. It's not just like cutting video. Obviously, I had to do like animations and stuff. So yeah, I spent like a week like learning the courses, but I also spent like days and days watching YouTube video, like sometimes like frame by frame, to understand like what's happening there. Why is this video so interesting? What effects can I create and stuff like that. And so yeah, and each video I watched, I had like, okay, this is a nice idea, I'm going to write it down. And at the end I was like, okay, I got good skills, I know I got a better idea of what I do. So I went back to my script, added like a new section like on my Google Docs, which is like I don't know, storyboard effects, whatever, like basically what do you see on the screen? And I started to think, okay, what could be interesting to see on the screen instead of just me talking for like 30 minutes, and that would be super boring. So I did that, think of what effects I can add, what kind of music, would like set the mood. And yeah, then I recorded it, did the editing, and then posted it. So that's pretty much the process.
And yeah, even if you're just a first time maker, like the sounds that you put in at specific points, the editing is very, very much on point. So yeah, congratulations. Like I have been making videos for a long time, like ever since I was a small kid, and I'm not as good as you. So yeah, I have a lot to learn in that regard. So thank you for inspiring me, at least in that specific regard. But I was personally sort of maybe kind of a little burnt out from YouTube videos, because like the last time I posted a more well edited video, I spent like 3 weeks working on that one, and it was on programming, and it got like 200 views, which really demotivated me, because I spent like 3 weeks writing, editing, rewriting, basically the whole shebang, and I didn't really see that much results, which is maybe one of the things that I need to work on, is to not care so much about the short-term results, but think about the stuff more in long term. But yeah, we'll see how that pans out.
I think so. I spend like really lots of time watching videos about like Mr. Beast, not like the video he produced, but his interviews and stuff like that. One thing he says is really interesting is like, okay, so obviously there is a whole keep making videos, but every time think how can you improve, etc. But also like, why would people watch this? Like basically there is no like algorithm or something. It's just people like the video, you get views. That's it. So I think that's one thing people need to like forget is like the algorithm is playing against you and stuff like that. No, it's just if you make good videos, you will get views. That's how it works. YouTube want to maximize watch time. So the more people watch videos, the more YouTube is happy. The more YouTube is happy, the more views you get. So and that's how I approach the video. Is like obviously I had like a really good story, so that plays a massive part. But the next one I'm going to make is probably going to be a bit more like educational. So I really need to think more of, okay, how can I make this interesting for the viewer and not just using like, clickbaits and stuff like that. Is like, how do I actually make this interesting? So like why would someone watch that? And I think, so one thing he mentioned, like that Mr. Beast mentioned is like, you need to like give people a reason to watch immediately when they open. So the intro, I think, is the most important part after the thumbnail. And it's like, okay, so I click on a video, for example, about learning video editing. So I want to see maybe what is the end result, like a preview of like maybe the effect I'm trying to learn, or what I'm learning, why I'm learning it, what I can do once I learn it. And what I found really interesting is that it's basically copywriting. Copywriting and writing video is the same skill. I feel video editing is like 4D copywriting because you don't just write and add nice effects. You also have to keep the the flow going, but you still have like the same notions of the pacing. So if your copy is too boring, people will stop watching. There is no such thing as like a too long copy, same as a too long YouTube video. There are some videos that are like 2 hours long and get millions of views. So it's not about like, people have short attention span, I need to make 6 minutes video. No, absolutely not. So I think if you make something like that match the people intent. So for example, when they click on my video, they are curious. They want to learn, how did I do that? They probably don't want the technical details. They don't want like a 2 hours video of me breaking down the code I did and stuff like that. They want to like, what the fuck is that? How? And they get the answer. But if that was like, for example, I don't know, like a talk show or something, me talking, is probably people opening. So, I'm just going to put this video in the background so it feels like I have someone to talk to. I think that's what Mark does well, and I think that's one of the reasons his channel does really well is because so he both have this like same as me, like the little clickbait-ish effect with, I made this amount of money and people are like curious, so he has that, but he also has like a very chill tone of voice. So it's like typically a video you can just put it in the background and just listen to what he says while you are walking and stuff like that. My video is more, you need to be focused because there are lots of things going on and stuff. So it's a different intent, I think. So I think it's like really important to understand what would be the intent of people watching that. Do they just want some company? Do they just want to learn something? Do they want to be inspired? So a very important thing. And obviously then set the expectations, like tell them directly why you should watch this video. And same as when they're on the landing page, why you should read that. The first thing a landing page should say is like, why you should read this landing page, nothing else. Because if you try to sell the product, then you might lose them. It's like, it's not really interesting for them. But if you say, hey, this is how you make 10 times more sales for your, indie making app or whatever, then, I'm in indie making, I want to make 10 times more sales. So this is about me. I'm interested. I'm going to learn what they say. And then you sell the product eventually, and they're like, oh, wow, that's actually interesting. I'm going to buy that. So same for YouTube. It's like, I'm going to watch this video. This fits exactly me. I'm going to learn how to do this effect on YouTube, etc. So yeah, I think it's really interesting to take some time to think like, what do you watch on YouTube? Why do you watch it? And more importantly, when you start a video and stop it or get distracted, try to understand why and write down the moments, like maybe it's like the guy is talking for too long and it's getting a bit boring. So you check your Twitter DMs, something like that. Then, okay, this is interesting. So for this intent, people probably want something more fast paced. So yeah, it's just like yeah, that's how I kind of approach the whole thing, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is very insightful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Right. The next thing that I would want to ask you is, what is your advice for future founders?
I think we got. Oh, I think we got a little freeze. I didn't hear the last sentence you said.
Yeah, sure. I'd love to repeat. So the next question that I would want to ask you is, what is your advice for new or future founders who want to build products solo?
Well, I think the obvious one will learn marketing, but I think this is something everyone here, it's like, oh yeah, of course, but what the fuck does that mean? So I think specifically learn copywriting, learn how to like understand what make people ticks, understand like why people would be interested in buying, because people don't buy, like they just trade resources for something they think is more valuable. And important part is what they think is more valuable. It doesn't mean it is more valuable or whatever. It's up to them to decide. So yeah, try to understand like how to present things in a way that make people want to keep reading, like, or like make them feel that your product is relevant to them. And for that, the best thing is just learn copywriting, read books about copywriting. There is a great book that I forgot the name. Actually, I never read this book because it was things I already knew mainly, but this compiled it very well. And I think it's like Influence. Man, I don't know the name, but it's a very famous one. I think it's Influence by Robert
Can link it in the comments
Cialdini.
afterwards. No worries.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's a great book for people looking to get started and like be interested in like psychology, what make people tick. I think that's an essential skill, and that can be applied to pretty much everything you do. So video editing, marketing, indie making, design, user interface, bunch of stuff. You can use psychology. So I think that's really valuable skill to have.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Short and sweet. I love it. Thank you. And for the last question that I have for you, Nico, we talked about the beginnings of your journey. We talked about where you are currently. And would you like to speak a little bit about where you want to be and where you're heading?
That's a good one. Let me think. So yeah, right now I want to get Talk Notes out of my hands because it takes too much mental space. I cannot do anything until it's sold. So that's the first thing. Priority number one is to sell it. But once it's done, so I will have some money aside. So I won't be in an emergency. I could probably technically retire in Asia if I wanted to, with what I made so far plus the amount of the sale if it goes through. But I think I will basically be able to focus a bit more on things I enjoy doing versus things that people want. So, for example, Talk Notes, I have absolutely no affinity with the product. I don't particularly like it. I mean, it's a good product. I use it, but it's just, I don't know. I'm not really interested in the product. The other one, like another of the products I'm working on, same. It's just I saw an opportunity, and yeah. So this one is more. I'm going to try new channels with this one, so I will work on it to learn. But same, I plan to sell it over the long term. But what I like to do, I really enjoy doing the YouTube video, so I would definitely, I think, do more of that. Now I still like my goal on the long term is to have like 5 million in the bank. That's my freedom goal, because after taxes and stuff like that, if you place it and get 3% per year, you get around $10,000 per month. So that's enough to live well pretty much anywhere in the world. So that's my ultimate goal. But I think I will be in a stage where I can cool down a bit and okay, now I can afford to do things I enjoy doing, like YouTube videos, or I think so. I will try to launch, like, not necessarily an agency, because I hate doing like calls and stuff like that, but some kind of productized service where like kind of what I do now. Like lots of people ask me, hey, can I get feedback for my ads? And like I like doing it. So sometimes, often I do it for free for people who got my course, and even some people who didn't. But eventually, like, I cannot do it for everyone. So I think I will just I will probably offer that as like, a one-time fee of like, I don't know, 100 or 150, whatever. And I do like account analysis or uh, landing page, like improvement ideas, whatever. Probably that to, still have some money going, plus working on my app. But I think I want to focus on making like YouTube videos and stuff. I really enjoy doing that. So I would probably like try to go in that direction, but without losing that, okay, I still need to make, good amount of money.
Well, I would like to wish it to you, like whatever you have placed on your journey up ahead. I would like to wish that you achieve that and 10x more.
Thanks. Well, I mean, I wish you like same. I hope you can get like a nice first win. I think the first one, like the first one, is always the hardest, because then it compounds. You get a bit more money, so you get less stress, and you can maybe afford to pay for like courses, tools, consultants, etc. So it's just become way easier after. But until you get this first win, you need to really grind, and it's not easy. So I hope you can find the strength to keep going.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm on the path, and your words are very, very inspiring, as well as your story as well. So you have done plenty to do that. So thank you as well.
Yeah. Well, thanks to you too.
Yes.
For inviting me.
Yeah, it was a fantastic conversation. I loved it. Thank you, Nico, for joining. Would you like to plug in any of your profiles or socials? Like, if anybody's if you're still listening on the conversation, please follow Nico on Twitter and YouTube. I will link his profiles in the description, in the comments. So please be sure to follow him. And would you like to add any additional? Do you have any additional thoughts, Nico?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've pretty much covered everything. Just again, you only need to win once, because after that it just becomes easier and easier. So yeah, just keep learning. You never are done with something. Even with like advertising, I still like to take courses. Sometimes I do hope to learn a few things. So yeah, just keep learning. And it's hard, like it's definitely not easy, but I think it's well worth it. So yeah.
I will most definitely continue. And to everybody watching at home, thank you for sticking with us this far. Please follow Nico and his social links. I will post them in the comments below, and subscribe for future updates. I like to have these conversations with founders and entrepreneurs once a week. So if this seems interesting, please subscribe, and you'll find some interesting conversations in the future. So to anybody at home, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week.
Bye bye.
Bye, everyone.